Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Let's get this thing started. It's been wild in Washington, D.C. as Bob Barr had lots to say about the Mueller report. Then, of course, about 2 hours later, we actually got to see the Mueller report for ourselves. Here's what we do know. Bob Barr was lying to us in his summary. He took some liberties with the Mueller report. And folks have been talking about it all day. And we got a couple of lawyers here, former prosecutors, to talk about this report as well. But let's start this way. This is how the New York Times summed this whole thing up. They say, which is pretty interesting. While the report does not find that the president or his campaign aides had committed any crimes in their contacts with Russians, it lays bare how Mr. Trump was elected with the help of a foreign power when a federal inquiry was started to investigate the Russian effort. He took numerous steps to try to undermine it. Okay, y'all, that really explains the Mueller report there. And it's pretty interesting. But it also found that the Russians did indeed tap into some election offices in Illinois, also in Florida. And so, man, you talk about an unbelievable report here. And so we want to dig in with this report. So let's talk with A. Scott Bolton, a former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee, who joins us right now. And so I'm gonna start with you, Scott. I also am joined by Attorney Glenn Ivey, former state's attorney for Prince George's County, also former federal prosecutor. And so we also joined in studio by Greg Carr, chair, Department of Afro-American Studies. He joins us as well. And Shireen Mitchell, she is social analyst and diversity strategist. So I want to start with our attorneys first. And so let me go to Scott. Scott, when you look at this report, when you look at what Mueller determined, first of all, he said he agreed. I guess he consulted with the legal counsel in the Department of Justice that a president cannot be indicted. So therefore, he's pretty much leaving this thing up to Congress as to whether or not they want to impeach Donald Trump for obstruction of justice. This report, more than 400 pages. Your initial assessment of what you read from Robert Mueller.
Well, I think the big thing that jumps out at me is the numerous attempts. I counted at least 10. There may have been 12 attempts to obstruct justice. You see, Donald Trump and his campaign knew that Russia helped him win the election because they wanted him to win on one hand. On the other hand, you got a willing participant, whether they were assets of Russia or Russia used them as an asset. But the 10 or 12 efforts to obstruct justice, firing Comey, pressuring McGahn, his White House counsel, to make false statements and to fire the special prosecutor, pressuring the attorney general to get back in the case, and using agents within the White House to do so. Mueller's decision that because these aides did not always carry out or weren't as effective in carrying this message forward, despite Donald Trump's own public statements about all of this, I got to tell you, it's very disappointing for this one reason. Obstruction of justice is one of the few federal crimes, if not only crime, that you don't have to complete to be guilty of it. The statute says attempt or obstruct justice. Under that scenario, those 10 or 12 efforts that documented by Mueller as Trump's efforts to obstruct justice more than qualify for an attempt to obstruct justice. And as a result, he could have easily been charged with these crimes, or Mueller could have easily said he should be charged with these crimes. That just didn't happen. And Barr, he just avoided all of that. He just ignored all of that and lied to us this morning.
Glenn Ivey, that point is really important. That first and foremost, Donald Trump tried to obstruct justice. Okay, I'm trying to understand, how do you have to fully prove that? Well, had they gone forward with it, it would have happened. He tried to do it. I mean, look, we can go down the list. He asked Comey to end the investigation. Misleading statements about Russian meeting. The firing of FBI Director James Comey. Attempts to fire Special Counselor Robert Mueller. Using Corey Lewandowski to oust Jeff Sessions. Talking to witnesses about testimony. Trying to get Jeff Sessions to unrecuse himself. Also, trying to tell Don McGahn to lie, and Don McGahn wouldn't do it, and he kept wanting him to lie. I mean, that's what Donald Trump was trying to do.
And then he tried to fire McGahn because he wouldn't lie. Don't forget that.
Glenn Ivey, go ahead. Hold on, Scott. Glenn, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a long list of misconduct for sure, and I think there's a lot for Congress to work with, and they're gonna do that. I think the House Judiciary Committee, in particular, is going to jump after it. But one thing that I thought was very surprising was the fact that Barr came out and said that there was no obstruction, there was no evidence of obstruction, even in the face of all the evidence that was there. It was a little disappointing, too, to have Mueller come out and tee it up, lay out all the evidence like that, but then pull back instead of go ahead and pushing it across the finish line. But clearly there's plenty for Congress to work with in the weeks coming up.
Well, and also what I thought was quite interesting is that when you start going through this and you're seeing his actions, his public comments, that anybody looking at this, Scott Bolton, can say, dude, you were trying to affect the Paul Manafort jury. You were trying to, you were making statements. Obstruction of justice was literally wide open. It was out in public.
Right. And so, this is for the political attacks. So, you have these pundits who try to seek through or sort through all of this. But what Mueller's report does is put it all to bed, put it all to rest. It's confirmation of the several leaks that we heard throughout the last year or two. It's confirmation that they believed and they followed Donald Trump when he said he fired Comey over the Russian investigation, when he told the Russian operatives in the White House that he fired Comey and that he was nuts or words to that effect. And so the value of the Mueller report is this isn't some fantasy where we're trying to figure out what's truth and what's fake and otherwise. Mueller confirms all of these bad acts in great detail with great reference points and citations. And so there's not much to debate here. The only debate is whether the president ought to be charged or not, whether Barr lied or not, and he certainly did. And then really the Justice Department and the criminal justice system, based on Barr's conduct, based on the president's conduct, and all those that would support him, took a real hit. It's a bad day for lawyers and lawyering, in my opinion, because justice did not win this time, that politics won this time, and that Trump and his supporters have just capitulated to lies, to fake news, the real fake news, and to winning, to the demise of the American institutions, justice, intelligence, and all that we stand for or want to stand for in this beautiful but imperfect country of ours. It's a sad day for all of it.
Glenn Ivey, Trump sent out this tweet saying game over. He was out there, talking about how no collusion, anything along those lines. But this is a damning report for Donald Trump. This is not a clear victory for him or his aides at all.
Yeah, I think that's definitely right. At the same time, though, that politically, Barr running interference to the extent that he did, I think was helpful, delaying the release of the report so that the reporters hadn't had a chance to read it while Barr was doing his press conference. And then Barr still ended up walking away from tough questions that he got at the hearing, at the press conference. So we got off to a slow start, but I really do think it's going to be incumbent on Congress, the House in particular, to follow up on this and push it forward and make sure the public gets a chance to understand and digest all of what's in the report that lays these facts out. I think we have to pursue it.
A couple of our other panelists, again, Shireen Mitchell, social analyst and diversity strategist, and also Alexis Green, spoken word artist. I want to go to Greg Carr first, then I'm going to go to Shireen, then Alexis. Greg Carr, you have, first of all, you went to law school. You saw some tap dancing there by Bob Barr doing his best. Even Fox News, Chris Wallace said he sounded more like a defense attorney as opposed to the chief law enforcement officer in the country. And what's also amazing is that Bob Barr gave Donald Trump's personal lawyers access to this report before Congress and before the public.
Absolutely. I think it's remarkably consistent. Today was a very good day, I think, for possibly America. Besides the description, and we are faced with the fact that the law is not.
Hey, Greg, hold on one second. Greg, hold on one second. We're having an issue with your Skype. I want to go to Shireen. Shireen, if you can answer that particular question. Again, to see Bob Barr act as the defense attorney for Donald Trump and to give his personal attorneys access to the report before even members of Congress?
Yes. I mean, he's the AG. The AG is there to protect the American people. He has his own White House counsel. So it doesn't make sense that he would go to the White House counsel and ask them to take a look at this before anyone else gets to see it.
No. He didn't just go to the White House counsel. He went to Trump's personal attorney.
Yes.
His personal counsel.
He went to the White House counsel and his personal attorneys. He basically allowed all of them to get access to this information prior to it being publicized for anyone else to see. That in itself should be an alarm for all of us, because people just don't understand. He's acting as his defense attorney. He's not acting as the AG who's supposed to protect the lives and the laws of the land for the American people.
Alexa's got to ask you this here. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she now proven out to be a liar. She stood at that White House podium and she actually said that she was personally aware of FBI agents who rose to the defense of Donald Trump. But now we know, based upon the Mueller report, she was a liar, that she actually made it up. She said, quote, "The rank and file of the FBI had lost confidence in their director. We've heard from countless members of the FBI." That was a lie. From the report, Sanders acknowledged to investigators that her comments were not founded on anything. As far as I'm concerned, Alexis, Sarah Huckabee Sanders should never be able to stand behind that podium as press secretary speaking to the public, because we now have it. She will lie to the American public space.
Yes.
I mean, I honestly think that's terrible, to lie to the public, to lie, especially with a position like hers. I feel like at some point we have to look at these positions and think, where does the integrity come in terms of her position, in terms of Trump's position, everyone involved, really. I think there's a lack of integrity with everyone, and people are lying to protect their agenda, whether that agenda is to not look like a liar now, or that agenda is to protect Trump.
Do you have me now?
All right, I think we have Greg Carr back. Greg, I want to ask you this here. The report explicitly states that the investigation did not clear Donald Trump. Quote, "If we had confidence after a thorough investigation of the facts that the president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice, we would so state." Greg?
Yes. Are we there?
Yeah, you're here. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to say, I think this is really...
All right. So again, I'm still having some issues with Greg Carr's Scott. We're going to try to get that thing fixed. Let me bounce this off of Glenn and Scott. Scott, you first. Mueller also made clear that Donald Trump's people destroyed evidence, used encrypted app. And so if they were not forthcoming, he wanted Donald Trump to testify. He would only answer in written questions. Donald Trump also criticized Hillary Clinton for saying, "I don't know," when she got interviewed by the FBI. He said the same thing nearly 40 times as well. But for the fact that evidence was actually destroyed, and Mueller basically says in the report, they could not get to the truth because information had been destroyed or encrypted apps used to hide information.
Yeah, in any other case in federal court or state court, that's obstruction of justice. And you could even be convicted for destroying evidence that you know is going to be used later on in a trial. So it is the height of hypocrisy on Trump's part, and the depth of arrogance to be used for these negative political means. So this is not a full clearing of the president. What's important now is what happens next. Glenn Ivey says the Congress has got to pick this up. But remember, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and the State Attorney General can both pick these cases up or this investigation up. They're investigating other things in regard to Trump's businesses, and these conclusions by Mueller, whether for whatever reason he didn't go further, there's still hope with those three institutions: the New York State Attorney General, the Southern District of New York, as well as the House Justice Committee. The Senate Justice Committee has said already from the senator from South Carolina, or rather North Carolina, that he has no interest in pursuing any of this as a supporter of Trump.
Glenn Ivey, your final comment.
Yeah, I think the challenge with the Southern District of New York is that their boss is Mr. Barr, who already said there's no obstruction. So I think it's really going to be up to Congress to push this forward, and the House in particular, because that's the committee the Democrats control. The Judiciary Committee in particular, I know, is going to go after this very aggressively. That's where the truth's going to have to be laid bare. And also, at the end of the day, 2020 is going to be the key. I don't think he's going to be impeached, but he needs to be beaten at the polls, and it's going to be critical for the Democrats to lay the groundwork for that.
We've got Greg Carr on the phone. So, Greg Carr, just your thoughts overall on this entire report now that we have, for the most part, the full Mueller report.
I think it's a great day, man. I think it's a great day because it has stripped the illusion that somehow the law or America's supposedly so great institutions can save it from the fact that human beings create institutions. The facade has been dropped. Volume 2, page 4, May 17, 2017, when the acting Attorney General for the Russia investigation appointed the special counselor, Donald Trump, made his confession. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm beat. In other words, he knows what he did. Now, is it illegal to receive emails from WikiLeaks if WikiLeaks did not, in fact, hack into the computers and the Russians did and gave it to them? No, it's not illegal. So Bob Barr is technically correct. But as you say, 12 of the 14 indictments are still secret. That's where a lot of the redactions are from. But at the end of the day, that whole report, up and down that report, as you said, this is an administration full of liars, full of people who are flouting Article 2 powers, as Robert Mueller has said, and people who are testing the limits of American democracy. I think it's a beautiful day in America, because what we are now faced with is a question. This isn't about Republicans and Democrats. If you believe in the so-called idea of American exceptionalism, then you need to do something very different. The Republican Party, not the Democratic Party, is the one that is on trial today. And I think they will probably be found wanting. And then the real question emerges, which is, what exactly do we have in this country if the President of the United States can flunk the law with impunity?
Well, very well said. A. Scott Bolton, I appreciate it. Glenn Ivey, I appreciate it as well. Thank you so very much. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.